Hi everyone, it's Caitlin from Really Big Plant. Thank you so much for joining me. So for this video, we are going to be doing some stuff to this pineapple plant, and I want to talk to you a little bit about pineapples, and then we're gonna eat it. So let's just get into it.
Really big plant.
All right, so I have this pineapple plant sitting on the floor over here, and we're set up like this because I have the pineapple leaning against this table here because it's started falling over, I noticed a couple weeks ago, and I came downstairs this morning and noticed that it had fallen over and kind of started to break off of the plant. So this plant has declared that this fruit is ripe and it's ready to be eaten, so that's what we're gonna be doing today. So this is a plant that I got from Home Depot, I don't know, a couple months ago, maybe. It was $25. Came with a immature little fruit on it. It was still brown and kind of small, and over the past few months it's actually grown a good amount in my house and has ripened up pretty quick. And it really smells like a pineapple. So pineapple plants are native to South America, but they've really been a collector houseplant basically for the past 500-600 years actually in the Western world. So pineapples were discovered by explorers to the New World, which means like the Americas, right? That's Europeans coming over to the New World and finding things. This was an amazing discovery of the New World, according to explorers like Christopher Columbus, who brought pineapple plants back to Europe. So basically pineapples have been a status symbol for a really long time because after they were like discovered by Europeans, it was also realized that most places in Europe don't really have conditions where you could actually grow a pineapple plant and grow it to a point where it actually produces a fruit. Because being native to South America, they like the heat, they like the humidity, they like a lot of sun, and that's not really the kind of climate you're gonna find in like England and France and stuff like that. So basically, the pineapple plants became a status symbol because if you had like the type of greenhouse that could support the growth of a pineapple, it meant that you were really rich, and it meant that you were very, very unique in your ability to have this plant that was so exotic. We're talking like the 16, 17, 1800s as the technology began to improve. The first hot houses, which were the name of like very warm, climate-controlled greenhouses in Europe, were created to house and try to grow pineapple plants. And they used these heating devices called a pineapple stove that was literally meant to keep the pineapple plants warm enough so that they could produce a fruit. And then when the plants eventually did fruit, no one would eat it. They would save it and hoard it and put it as like a centerpiece at parties. Like I'm talking about like kings, right? I'm talking about like Louis the 14th. He would like take a pineapple plant, put it on display at events so that people could see his enormous wealth. And so that's why pineapples are still a motif today on like preppy brands like polo shirts and stuff like that might have like the little pineapple motif, the little pineapple embroidery. That is a direct nod to old school colonialism where having a pineapple plant was a status symbol, that you had something amazing and exotic from the New World. And it wasn't until like I think late 1800s, maybe early 1900s, where pineapples started being actually mass produced by Dole, I believe. There's the little history lesson on the pineapples. Why were they so hard to grow? Pineapples want a lot of heat and humidity. It usually takes the pineapple plants around a year, I think, for the fruits to develop. When I got my plant a couple months ago, it did already have the fruit on it, and I have no idea how long it had been growing up until that point. So yeah, pineapple plants would really prefer to grow outside so that they can get as much sun and warmth as possible, but it is possible to keep them as houseplants inside. I found that they do pretty well at room temperature. I don't think that they're gonna grow fruit if you grow them inside starting from a baby plant. Like it might take them a very long time to develop a fruit if they're not getting sufficient light. But if you buy one at the store that already has a little baby fruit on it, like I did, it was grown in conditions where it already had the energy needed to have that initial burst of fruit production where it produced all of the parts of the fruit, and now the only thing left to do was ripen. I think that if I bought this plant and had put it outside in the sun for a while, it might have grown even bigger, but I was enjoying this as a house plant because it's pretty fun to see a pineapple growing inside your house. So pineapple plants, Ananas comosum. Ananas camosus, I think, camosus. They are technically part of the bromeliad family, and so they are more closely related to like a tillandsia than your other typical types of houseplants. And the fruit that they form is technically a multiple fruit. So it forms an inflorescence that gets covered with little berries that grow, and then they fuse together into this multiple fruit that's like this big single unit. So when you look at a pineapple and you see those individual sections, those started off as individual berries on the inflorescence that then became part of this conglomerate whole as it matured. So as a houseplant, I've noticed that my pineapple plants have been really not that picky. They're pretty drought tolerant, and they just like bright light. That's the main thing. They're also very sharp. Like if you have sensitive pets or like little kids, I would say, you know, be careful with the pineapple plant because you could take an eye out with this or get like some serious cuts from it. It's got very sharp leaves. And even the edges, they could like slice. Like it's a very sharp plant, and that's all an adaptation to protect the delicious fruit that it grows in the center that it takes so long to grow. So some of the ways that you can know that the fruit is going to be ready to harvest is that it starts to produce this amazing smell. Smells like a pineapple, and if you're growing them outside, when they start to produce smell, you gotta pick them or you gotta cover them because some other animal is gonna find them because they smell really delicious and sugary, like pineapples. But one of the ways that you can know that the pineapple is definitely ready for harvest is if it starts to fall off the plant. So that's what happened to mine. So I noticed in the past like week or two that it looked like the plant was kind of starting to lean over. So I moved it into this location and rested it against the table because I thought that it maybe needed a little extra support and I was gonna maybe shove a stick in there or something. But then I came downstairs this morning and I noticed that the fruit had basically fallen off the plant. So one of the things about harvesting pineapple plants is that you don't want to pick them too early. You really don't want to harvest them before they're as ripe as they can be, especially if you're growing it inside and you're not battling outdoor animals and stuff like that to try to protect your fruit. You really want to try to leave it on there for as long as possible because they are a type of fruit that only ripen on the plant. Like once you cut them off, they don't get any sweeter. They might turn more yellow as they age, but they don't actually increase their sugar content once you remove it. So they produce all the sugars they're gonna produce while still on the plant. I've seen other people recommend leaving the pineapple plant on the plant until it basically starts to fall off, which is what's happened with mine. I do wanna just like taste test this. I'm not gonna eat the whole plant because chemicals, right? You never know what kind of chemicals get sprayed on houseplants during their developmental process, but if you're looking to snack on pineapples, don't buy them from the houseplant section, is all I'm gonna say. But we're still gonna taste this and see what it tastes like. So before I ever started my YouTube channel, the first video that I ever filmed and never released was all about pineapple plants. And I had a pineapple plant that ripened in my care, and I cut off the pineapple and I ate it with my husband, and we filmed a whole little pineapple thing, and then I never posted that video. It was like a couple months before I ever posted my first video on my channel. Maybe I'll release some of that footage. I'm curious to compare the taste of that first pineapple to the taste of this one. If you've been watching my channel, you might remember that mirror hallway that I had in my last apartment, and there was a pineapple plant on the floor there. That pineapple plant is the plant from the video I never released. Anyway, that pineapple, when it was ripe, it was really fragrant. This pineapple is not producing smell like that, and it didn't fall off. I cut it off. 1, 2, 3. Okay. This plant is falling off, and it doesn't smell as sweet as the last one I had, but there definitely is a pineapple fragrance there for sure. This plant also has been suffering with spider mites along with like a lot of other things in my collection, so I don't know how that has affected the fruit development. I'm sure it's impacted it in some way. Let's take this fruit off. You can twist it off, or you can cut through the stem below the fruit, or if it's ripened up like mine, it's just gonna fall off. Do you see that? There's still a faint connection there, so I could try to leave it on for longer, but I think it's right. Either way, I'm gonna remove it because it's become unmanageable in this state. You see how it's flopping back and forth like this? So I'm just gonna rip it the rest of the way off. are! A pineapple that I kind of grew. I want to say I grew this, but it was already on the plant when I bought it from Home Depot. But it wasn't this yellow, so yay, I'm so excited. Now we can try to propagate it and also eat it. And also take some selfies with this plant real quick. Okay, so I've got this tiny cutting board here. Isn't this so cute? It's so small, it's like useless, but anyway, I love it. I'm gonna use this tiny cutting board. So, like other members of the bromeliad family, once a pineapple plant has flowered, the parent plant actually dies. So this plant grew its inflorescence, it turned into a fruit, we've now harvested it, and now this mother plant is going to start to slowly die off and it will never flower again. But usually pineapple plants, as well as other types of bromeliads, produce offsets at the base of the plant and at the top of the fruit in the case of pineapples. So this part of the plant, this top little lovely tuft here, is actually the start of a whole new pineapple plant that can then grow its own fruit. So when you cut the top off of the pineapple, you can propagate it and grow it and plant it. And eventually this plant will root out and it'll grow and it should produce its own pineapples someday if given the right conditions. So you can also do this with pineapples from the grocery store as long as the top part of the plant isn't in too rough a condition. Sometimes the transportation process and the cooling and the freezing and all that stuff that happens to fruit can make the tops much more difficult to propagate. But in theory, when you buy a pineapple plant that has this top attached to it, even from the grocery store, you can prepare this top in a way that you're able to propagate it, which is why, like, you guys seen those pink pineapples that came out? I forget what they call them, pink lemonade pineapples or something like that. They're pink on the inside and you can buy them. I think when they first came out, they were so expensive. They were like $50 a pineapple. This is like a serious throwback to the original days of pineapple plants when they were only something that like royalty could afford, basically. I think Dole grows them. But anyway, the pink pineapples, if you buy them when they first released them, and I think currently still if you try to buy one, they come with the tops cut off, and that's so that you cannot propagate the plant. So this plant will take a long time to die off. It's not like tomorrow it's all of a sudden gonna be dead. You know what? I shouldn't speak too soon because you never know. Sometimes crazy stuff happens with plants, but in my experience with pineapple plants, the parent original plant can take a very long time to die and it happens very slowly. So if you are feeling sad about the plant dying, it's not going to go away all at once. And if it doesn't have any offsets around the base, I would say you should keep the parent plant and keep taking care of it in the same way that you were before and see if it grows any offsets before the whole thing shrivels up and dies. If you notice that it starts to sort of turn brown everywhere and the whole thing looks like it's crisping up and dying once it's fruited, that's not your fault. That's the plant progressing along its natural cycle. So, okay, let's put this down here. So you can remove the top part by twisting it off. It's got like really sharp leaves, so you might want to put on a glove if you want to twist the top off, but you also can just cut it off. So I'm gonna first see if I maybe can just actually twist it. Oh yeah. And the juicy core. You know what I just realized? Because this isn't a grocery store thing, I forgot to wash this. I'm gonna go wash the outside of this really quickly. Okay, I should have done that first before I broke the top off, but I washed it upside down so water didn't get in this hole. So here's what it looks like once I removed the top piece. Here is the juicy top. So first impression, doesn't have that much taste. So it smells like a pineapple on the inside, but it also smells kind of like grass. Like it has this planty smell, like maybe it wasn't fully finished ripening. All right, check that out. So the core of a pineapple plant is a continuation of the inflorescence and it's not really edible. It doesn't have the same flesh that was in the berries that formed the fruit that fused all around. You can eat it, but it's not like the fruit of the plant. Like the fruit part is all the other stuff, not the core. Take a slice from the middle. See if my husband is done with work. Hey, are you done? Oh. Hello. You want to come eat some pineapple?
Definitely.
Fair warning, this one doesn't really smell that good. I also think that it might have like ripened faster because of spider mites or something like that, because like this one doesn't have that smell like the last one did. It almost smells rubbery. It has a funny smell in it.
I think you've just been sitting by it for a while, so you're smelling it less, because I smell pineapple coming over here.
Do you want to eat this whole thing, or do you want me to cut it smaller?
I do.
Okay, here you go.
It tastes like a pineapple. Maybe it could be a little sweeter.
What?
No different.
Okay, here's the piece I cut you. Here's.
This is so much better than the last
It's good.
one. Tastes like a pina colada.
Yum! It's really good. We probably shouldn't eat this whole thing.
Why?
For safety reasons. We bought this at Home Depot.
Where do we buy the rest of our pineapples from?
The grocery store, like a normal person. Okay, so it's like, I don't think anything like bad is gonna happen. Like, it's not like you're gonna like immediately die, but it's like you might be ingesting some pesticides that you otherwise wouldn't be because you don't normally eat your houseplants. You know what I'm saying? Is that bite good too?
It's really good.
It's like really delicious, but like, who knows what might be in this fruit? Like, be real. If you were a nursery who mass produced pineapple plants and you had like a pest thing and you were growing them not for eating, and I think the label even said not to eat it, that means that they've got some pesticides on there. I took a bite of this part. I don't know if you can tell. You can see my teeth marks in it, but it doesn't taste good.
No, it's very
It's
fibrous.
salty and it tastes weird. And if there's any part of it that's got residual pesticides probably in it, it's probably this top part of the plant, because that's like where chemicals would pool. Sorry, I didn't think of that until after you took a bite. I took a bite too! This is not a laughing matter. I'm just laughing because it's like too late at this point, and also, I don't know, it's been like a trend recently to like lick your plants, right? Hasn't that been like a houseplant thing? You guys know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I think I might forbid us from eating the rest of this because I just don't know if it's like, I don't think it's worth it. I think we maybe should go out to the store and buy a regular pineapple and feast on a pineapple soon. Okay, great. Yum.
Delicious.
The way that you propagate the top of the pineapple plant is, first you want to cut off any of the fruit that's remaining. And then you want to start pulling away at the lower leaves. Ooh, there's so much dust. I don't know if you can see how much dust is coming off of this. I actually think that this is a little bit of natural trichomes from the plant, probably. So the goal here is to get down to some of that core. So once you pull off enough leaves, you'll start to have this section that remains from where you pulled the leaves off, and that's where the new roots are gonna grow. The roots are not gonna grow out of the bottom of the plant. They're gonna come from the side, kind of like a lot of other plants that we propagate as houseplants, like pothos and philodendron and stuff. The new growth doesn't come straight out of the cut end, but around the stem. So it's important to remove a bunch of leaves until you get to some stem that you have exposed so that water can touch there and so that roots can emerge and so that you don't have foliage covering the part of the stem that grows roots that will then eventually like rot. So we're gonna water propagate this. So this is kind of juicy right now because it just had a big juicy fruit attached to it. So I'm gonna leave it out overnight. And then tomorrow I'm going to stick it in some water. I wanna leave it out so that the end can callus over a little bit, basically just dry up so that it's not like a totally open wound. Allowing it to callus over just minimizes the risk of infection and reduces the risk of the entire plant rotting from the base up. So we're gonna leave it out overnight and just let this get all dried up, and then we will pop this in some water and be starting this propagation. But pineapples are known to be very slow growers. So if you are propagating a pineapple like this, don't expect a fruit immediately because it's going to take some time for the plant to build up the nutrient stores it needs to do something as massive of an undertaking as producing a pineapple. And then this plant, the parent plant, it is going to die. It's not going to continue growing from the top, but sometimes on the inflorescence stem, an offshoot can grow. So sometimes they kind of have this appearance of growing from the top. In rare cases, you can get a sucker that grows from up here. But usually they grow from down in the base. I think it has to be like very humid for one to develop along the inflorescence. I've never actually seen that. I just read that that's a thing that can happen. All right, you guys, this has been a really fun video. Thank you so much for watching. I am really excited to have gotten to do this. This tasted way better than I thought it was going to, so I'm very, very pleased. And yeah, if you are able to find a pineapple plant in a store around you, I would recommend getting one because they're really fun to have. I think that the time to get them is usually in the middle of the summer. Pineapples are definitely not like a productive crop where you're gonna buy one of these and like have all this fruit to eat. Like, no, it takes years for a single pineapple to develop and it's like really small. So I would love to hear from you if you've ever grown a pineapple plant or if you've eaten the pineapple from a pineapple plant you've grown and what your experience has been like. I want to get another pineapple and do this again and see if I can grow it even bigger next time. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video and I hope that your plants are bringing you joy and maybe even growing you some fruit. And I hope that you're having a great week and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye.